Welcome, everyone, to another Leadership Legends interview. Today, I'd like to introduce to you Professor Dr. Miguel Reid from the English ESL department here at Riverside City College. Thank you for being on the VCast today and sharing your academic journey, Dr. Reid.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's good
How
to
you
be
doing
here.
today? Good?
Good.
Good. So part of the male mentoring is interviewing the male faculty here at Riverside City College because it's important for me to people to share their stories because sometimes they just see our names on the door, they see our names on a catalog, but they don't really get to know our story. So I got a couple questions for you today. First question I have, who is Mr. Miguel Reid outside of Riverside City College?
Well, outside of Riverside City College, I'm just a person who's grateful to be, experiencing this thing we call life.
Okay.
Trying to stay, focused, trying to stay humble, trying to do everything I can to reach out to others, especially the students.
Okay.
But family
Okay.
is important as well,
Okay.
and maintaining my life in that way.
So let's say your classes are Mondays and Wednesdays, right? Thursday's coming, Friday night's coming. You're thinking of the weekend. Is there hobbies that you do? Are there activities that you do?
Yeah, I like to have fun just like anybody else. I'm not always grading papers. I'm not always preparing for class, as
Right.
students might think. I like cars. I like to race cars. Not as much as I used to.
Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
I don't street race anymore. I used to a lot, but I got in way too much trouble
Right.
for that. But now I keep it on the track.
Okay.
And
Cool.
I like to stay active. I like to play sports.
Okay.
I don't watch a lot of sports. That's something that I've, gotten away from.
Really?
I used to
Okay.
be addicted to it back when I was younger.
Interesting. Okay.
Steelers all the way, but
Ooh.
I've kind of gotten away from that because I think a lot of people expect me to
Interesting.
play sports. They expect me to be into that, and as a man, that's not something that has to define you.
Interesting.
So I've kind of gotten away from that, but I do still stay active. I play sports. I snowboard. Even though I'm 52 years old, I
Wow,
still try
52.
to
Wow.
try to keep
Don't even look
myself
52.
active. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So
I'm in a lot of fun activities.
you do you said race car, right? Racing. Street racing was big probably in our time, I guess. I'm in the 90s kid.
Right.
So anything with racing was like, oh my goodness, where are you going at,
Mm-hmm.
right? How those experiences shaped you, even though being part of something that was kind of popular, I would say, but it wasn't common, right? Not everyone was lining up
Right,
to
right.
be a race car driver or anything
Right,
like
right.
that. What experiences did you gather from that when you were obviously...
Well, what those experiences shaped me a lot, I think, because not only did we race cars, we used to hang around with all the guys who used to steal cars. We used to, ride around in stolen cars all the time, and a couple of my friends went to jail. So it kind of made me a little bit more aware of where I was going in life, and that I should, shape up and
Interesting.
not really do things that will, make me end up in a way that I don't want to be.
Interesting. I like how you say that because a lot of our students and viewers sometimes think that, everything was handed to us. Like, oh, you're going to go here, you're going to go there, fill this out, and good luck.
Right.
No, we had to go through different experiences that allow us to make decisions and really ask ourselves, like, what am I doing?
That's right.
Where am I going? And it's unfortunate that some people, they take decisions, right? And things don't go out their way. I'm just happy that your vision or your desire to go to college has, influenced many of your students and many of our viewers that are going to get to know you a little bit more on just the human part of Mr. Reid, right? So while you're doing all this stuff, being a little bit young, a little bit reckless, we could say, because we all did it, believe it or not. I had my own experience as well. When was it where college became an option? Like, did it happen when you see someone with the backpack going to college? Oh, hey, I'm going to go do that. Or how did that come about?
Well, my family was always emphasizing college, but, it didn't really become real to me until I was, I had barely graduated high school, never really thought about college as much, and I just went straight to working, side of freeway, digging ditches and, sweeping up warehouses and lifting boxes, loading trucks, things like that. And just I was working in a warehouse in Inglewood, and all the guys there were just it was the same thing every day,
Right.
just smoking and drinking and weekend funds and same thing over and over. And I just asked myself, do I want to be doing that for the rest of my life? Because the guys there, I was young, I was maybe 20, and they were in their 30s, and that's what they were doing. And it was a lot of negativity,
Okay.
a lot of non-progressive talk and thoughts. And I just said to myself, there's got to be something else. So I want to somehow look for something that can be engaging with me, fulfilling. And
I like that.
my mom, my dad wasn't around at the time, but my mom kind of said, go to school at night.
Okay.
Take one class, during this semester and see how you like it. So I was doing that. I'm glad she did that because I did that. But I did that for 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Community college. I went to LA City College, West LA College, Santa Monica College, and one class here and there. So it wasn't really, it was just something to keep my mind sharp and to keep me in the mode of doing homework and turning in work on time, which I think helped. So that by the time I transferred to university, I was able to do work.
So you were not the traditional college student, is what I'm hearing.
I guess not.
Right? Like Chafee, RCC, Fullerton, Mount Sac, you do your 2 years, you transfer.
Right.
You actually experienced multiple colleges.
Right, and I never got my AA, I just transferred.
Interesting. Now, keeping in mind the influence of your mom, influence of just take a night class, I think that's powerful, right? Because it wasn't where the demand was so much. Hey, go take 12 units. It's just go take one class.
Right.
See if you like it, right? And sometimes we have to remember, students, that it's not always that when you decide to come to college, like Mr. Reid here, giving his experience about colleges, sometimes you just have to do different things, And going back to say you didn't get your AA, so you went straight to your BA, your master's, and PhD, right? So even now we'll transition to, instead of Mr. Reid, is Dr. Miguel Reid, because I honestly, anytime I hear someone with that level of education, I feel proud because I know how hard it is, and you have accomplished that. Can you take us through that journey from BA to your master's to your PhD? Was it just like one thing after the other, so that our viewers can kind of see how's that transition occurred?
Well, I think I would be remiss to start my journey at BA because it really started way in school, in elementary school.
Oh, okay.
Where I was doing very badly, and the teachers would pull my mom to the side and say, he needs some help. Right. He really needs to get some, extra tutoring. I couldn't even write within the lines. I grabbed my pencil like this and I was writing under the lines, and I still remember Miss Feeney sat me down and she had me writing sentences and trying to do, my work, and it took me days and days to do the same work that other students might do in just a couple of hours. Wow. But I stuck with it, and at least got a little bit of focus with that. And then I was just interested in fighting in high school, and I didn't come to class often. The only reason I came to school was to fight. When I moved around a lot from Detroit to Chicago to Miami to LA, and so new schools, you got guys kind of test you.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was the thing that I did, and my grades were really bad. Even nowadays, I show in class my report card to my students to say if.
Interesting.
I show them all the F's, all the D's, in science and math, everything. And so it just wasn't something that resonated with me as a good student. So I didn't even go to my own graduation in high school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They sent me the diploma in the mail, and I said, oh, they graduated me with all these F's and D's. But that, like I said, after I went to work and did the warehouse thing and those kind of jobs, and I got kind of tired of it, then I decided to go to community college, and then finally I was able to transfer to Cal State San Bernardino.
So San Bernardino Coyotes, right? All my Coyote fans, here's a sign. If you don't know it, that means you haven't gone to Cal State San Bernardino. So with Cal State San Bernardino, did 2 years in what? What was your major there?
My major was, I started out with different majors. I was doing psychology, And then I was going to do business, and I was a pre-law minor.
Oh, wow.
And I just realized that that wasn't for me. I didn't have the personality to be a lawyer. And in order to do the pre-law minor, one of my professors suggested that I do English. He said that might be a good background for law. So I did a English major with a pre-law minor.
Okay.
And I said, I like this English thing.
Okay.
I like this English thing. The reason I like this English thing was because from I was young, I liked to write. Growing up in Detroit, you know, the neighborhood was not that good, so my grandmother did not allow us to leave the house, really.
Interesting.
We did
when
she didn't know it.
Yeah, right.
But she officially said, stay in the basement. I grew up there with about 7 cousins, sometimes 9, sometimes 10 cousins in the house. But I think that was a good experience. It was like a little dormitory.
Yeah.
But my grandmother was strict.
Okay.
She was Cuban. She taught Spanish, and she was into education. And I think that's where I got my respect for education.
Interesting.
So she told us, you know, go down to the basement. She had books, libraries. My cousins and I would go down there and, you know, break dance and, you know.
Okay, yeah.
That was back in the 80s.
I see you.
We would go outside and, you know, we would challenge the Cosmic Crew out there. And but when we got, you know, tired of that and we'd go downstairs in the basement, we would start reading some of the books, the National Geographic books, the ones that looked exciting to us.
Wow.
When we got bored of that, we started writing our own books. And I think that's what really got me into writing, was formulating ideas and developing storylines and seeing how I can use vocabulary to spice up the language a little bit more. And that's what made me love writing. So when I got this English major finally in my bachelor's program, it really highlighted my educational journey.
So you got your bachelor's, San Bernardino, master's where?
Same place.
So you stayed at San Bernardino for your master's.
Yes.
PhD elsewhere? Or
Yes, I got my EDD.
Okay.
Yes,
At
at
San
Capella.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Where?
Capella University.
Capella University. Okay.
Yes,
That
sir.
private school?
Yes.
Right?
So
Private school.
adult education
Okay.
was my major.
So we have community college experience. We have Cal State experience. You know, kind of a private school experience. I just really, I like how you said where English, a lot of people think English is just writing, right? Grammar, which is part of it. But I really like that point that you made where it spiced up the language. And students out there, if you are the type of person that you think English is just grammar stuff, Dr. Reid is right here telling you the more in depth, the more details about an English major. So I want you guys to keep that in mind as well through this obvious interview I'm having with them. But now you're saying your grandmother influenced you. Is she the greatest influence you had through your, I would say your academic? Because obviously in personal life, there might be another person, but I want to first do the personal life. Who was the greatest influence you as a person?
As a person, it would have to be my mother.
Okay.
Yes, as a person, it would have to be my mother, because she really did not give up on me when I was not doing so well, and she was really, she instilled a lot of discipline in me, as well as love and respect, and she made me see people for who they are and see myself for who I am. So I think my mother really had me grow up in a way that shaped me to be the person that I am today.
On the academic side, who you could think that kind of mark like this person really influenced me on the academic side?
Academic side would have to be my grandmother.
Your grandmother.
Because she was so heavy into education, and she was so encouraging of all of us 7 cousins and 9 cousins to really try to be more scholastic. I still remember in the basement she had a big sign on the wall saying, "We are scholars, not scullers."
Oh.
I was like, scholars? What is a sculler? She says, to scull away your time means to waste your time.
Wow.
So don't be a sculler, be a scholar. And I still remember that she had it. And, you know, I'm 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
But it still resonated with me. And all the teachings that she instilled within us about education and being very respectful of knowledge and trying to develop your mind as you grow. And
Interesting. I like that. The indirect teaching, like even a sign that you can always look up to, even to now, 52, right? You said 52.
Right.
You still remember that.
That's right.
And that's something I want my viewers to really understand. have something that reminds you, something that encourages you, something that provides that vision for a career that you may want to have one day. But we know you actually, Dr. Reid, you obviously got your BA, you got your master's, you got your PhD, EDD. But what was the highest hurdle that you can think of in 52 years of your life that you had to like, man, this is a hurdle. Man, I got over that. What kind of experience was that for you?
I think the highest hurdle that I've had was, growing up, I think at around 15 years old, my dad had to go away. He got in a little trouble and he had to go away. And I didn't have him in my life for about 10 years till I was 25.
Wow.
And it was a hurdle because as a man, you need your dad in your life.
Right.
But I'm so grateful that I had him those 15 years before because he was an excellent influence on me, my personal life.
Really?
He was a great example as a man. He really instilled within me the strength, the everything that I needed to navigate life for those 10 years.
Interesting.
So I was grateful for that. And I know a lot of guys may not have that.
Right.
And, I myself have specifically chosen not to have kids. That's just me.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
Gotcha.
And, a lot of guys think they need, in order to be a man, you need to have kids. You have to have a family, be a provider.
Oh, I like that.
But some, it's not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
I handle my own, but, I think there are a lot of young people out there who don't have fathers. And I interact with them every day as a mentor. So instead of putting my energy and time and resources into my own kids, I put them into the, students that I see all the time who are lacking that. So that's just my choice in life, and I just want them to know that the societal pressures that family may give you doesn't always have to be that way. You can, be in your 50s without kids and
still be happy.
travel, which is one of my hobbies, is travel all over the world,
Beautiful.
have fun, but still, give back.
So I like how you said that the first 10 years your dad really influenced you. He was out of the pic for another 10 years. But at 25 to 52, what lessons can you remember that your dad probably did teach you, even though he wasn't there with you during those 10 years between 15 and 25?
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of something that you can reflect on and go, you know what? He might have not been there those 10 years, but I can still remember something that shaped me at 25. Because I think as men, when we're 15, we think very different than when we're 25 or 30. Can you reflect a little bit on that? Like
Sure.
Stuff that you may go, you know what? My pop wasn't there when I was 18, but 26 or 27, I was still able to learn from him.
Yeah, and I think that the lessons learned are very important to be instilled as a seed, because even though you may not see that happening right when you're teaching somebody, it may resonate later on and come up. Right. And there are so many examples. I think just one that he has taught me is patience. Just patience and being very respectful of others. And the thing is, he didn't just tell it to me. The most impressive thing was he showed example. I saw situations where he could have blown up and been very had a temper, but he didn't. He was very patient. He was very cool, calm, and collected as he was handling that situation. Right. And when I later on in life got into those situations, I realized that the temptation to have a temper and to lash out at somebody and to fight was not worth it. And I remember his example and say, instead of handling it the way that I used to handle it, let me handle it this way.
Interesting.
And as a man, I think we get into issues and problems with that all the time.
All the time.
I hear my young men saying, I couldn't come to school yesterday because I got in a fight, got thrown in jail, things like that. So, it's just a matter of some examples that he showed me, as well as telling me directly, you need to handle it this way if it happens. You will not regret it. Right? However, if you handle it another way, you will regret it.
I like that. I like that he was able to instill that in you. Another way to approach, our inner selves, our anger, our emotions.
Right.
But like you said, calm and collective, right? Like, okay, what's going on? I'm not going to take this extra step or not. But I did like also what you mentioned about the whole, because you're right. There's the stigma, right? To be a man, you have to have kids. You have to give out seed out there, right? But I like how you said that you're putting the energy to the mentorship, to your students. So I kind of would like to know, as a member of your English department, what is your role here at Riverside City College? I want the viewers to know that when they see you, they kind of know, oh, that's what he does. That's what, if I'm ever interested in that, I could probably do that as well. Can you let our viewers know what is it to be part of the English department here at
Sure.
Riverside City College?
Well, my primary role is an ESL instructor.
Right.
So I teach English as a second language to students from all around the world, students who are international students, students who are immigrant students, and learning English. So my role is to help them develop their English skills, not only written skills, but also oral communication skills, so that they can get jobs, so that they can progress in life in the way that they want, so that they can express themselves in a way that they can get what they want.
Okay.
So that's my primary role as an ESL instructor. But I also teach English. I've got
Yes.
an FSA in English as well.
Okay.
So I teach freshman composition or first year composition.
Okay.
And I've just started to teach English 1B.
Okay.
I stayed away from it for a long time because I didn't want to teach it
Okay.
because it involves literature and I don't like poetry. I didn't like poetry. I didn't like plays and stories.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm not going to teach it. But it was my students who held my feet to the fire.
Interesting.
They said, Dr. Reid, you're always telling us we should try something new.
Right.
And we're always asking you to teach 1B, and you keep telling us no. Why don't you teach 1B next semester? I'm finishing 1A.
1A.
I want to have you again next
Right,
semester.
right.
I'm like, sorry, I'm going to continue with 1A.
Interesting.
But after a while, I said, you know what? They're right. I keep telling them to challenge themselves,
Right.
and I'm not challenging myself with teaching a new class. So let me go ahead and start teaching 1B, and I love it. So I just started it last year. I'm teaching it this semester as well,
Okay.
and the poetry is coming alive. The
Nice.
plays, the short stories, and I can express that to the students, and we can, facilitate some kind of love for literature and
Right.
apply that to critical thinking and to real life situations.
Now, we live in a social media world now. How does poetry, would you say, how can we use social media or even the music of today into poetry? Is there even a connection with that?
I think there is a connection, and we do discuss that in class. And it's funny that you mention that because
Yeah.
my English 1A class, the first year composition class, actually has a hip hop focus.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that class, we read about hip hop, we listen to hip hop, we talk about hip hop, and we write about hip hop. And we make the connections between
Yes.
writing rap and writing composition, and how it takes the same amount of energy, drive, creativity, structure. They don't. A lot of the great rappers don't just sit down and just throw it out. They
Right.
structure it. They revise it. A lot of the same elements that we put into our composition are put into the writing of rap lyrics.
So viewers, I really want you to understand what Dr. Reid is saying about that. If you're interested in English as a major, find something interesting. And I like what you said too, that your students had to challenge you. So believe it or not, students, you have, I will say, a good 80% of influence to us as professors. I will say that.
Absolutely.
Because I've experienced that, where like they check you too, like, hey, you should do, oh, you know what? I never thought about that.
Right.
So I just want to encourage you, viewers out there, if you do take a class with Dr. Reid, keep encouraging us as your own professors too out there. If you want to learn something, or if you want to, because I can kind of take the idea that those who say, hey, why can't you teach English 1B? It's because they like the English one that you're teaching.
Right.
90% I can put hands out.
And to tell you the truth, the reason I do the hip hop one is because of my students as well.
Oh.
I used to just do a regular English 1A class, and I put in one essay that was about hip hop, and they said, we like that.
Interesting.
You should make a whole class around that.
Okay.
I said, I will.
So once again, that input, you got to put that input. Do your part so we can do our part. But once again, Dr. Reid, thank you for joining me today. It's an opportunity for me to ask these questions so that our students can understand your journey, your academic journey here at, actually through your whole college experience and being here at Riverside City College. I encourage all of our ESL students and English majors to look into our resources here at Riverside City College. Remember, these resources are for free. And here you have Dr. Reid, someone that you can see in the quad, somewhere around campus. If you have questions, feel free to talk to him. Feel free to say, hey, I got a couple questions. I heard you on that YouTube VCast Male Mentoring. But Dr. Reid, I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank
really
you.
do. I know this is going to allow our students to look at English from a different perspective, but also from a professor that cares about their students. So once again, thank you for joining me today on this interview.